Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stitching Under the Oaks. I'm Lalena.
I'm Ray.
Welcome to our very first Flosstube. We're very excited to be coming to you today. We are here in Garner, North Carolina, which is the home of Weeks Dye Works. I thought we'd start out with a very quick introduction, and then we are going to share with you our 2024 finish parade today. So just a little bit about me. I have been stitching since I was in college, so not to date myself, but that's about not quite 30 years, but for a while. I've been stitching for a while. I am a self-taught stitcher, so I kind of have my own way of doing things. I don't worry if I make any mistakes. I do it for fun. I am a semi-monogamous stitcher, so I do tend to stitch on one piece from start to completion. For some of my very large projects, I may do a little bit of switching out, and I do also enjoy a good stitch along, so I might have some monthly projects that I pull out and just stitch on a particular section of it until the end of the month. I am my daytime job is I'm a special education teacher. I teach in elementary school. Right now, I'm working with kindergartners and first graders. Right?
I'm Ray. I don't stitch, but I do love looking at stitchings. I love like the art of stitching. I think stitchings are very beautiful. I've seen a lot of the pieces that my mom has made, and I just think that they're really beautiful.
Ray is also really helpful when it comes to floss tosses and picking fabric. He is really good at that. Um, and we will share this later in the video, but we are trying to teach ourselves to knit as well. So as we continue through that journey, we might have a few things to share with you. I don't think we want to share with you what we did in our first lesson, which we had yesterday. But when we get a little bit better, we'll have things to share with you. Eventually, we would like to we would like to knit socks. That is kind of our ultimate goal, is to be able to knit socks. So why a floss tube? I will tell you, this time last year, I really had no idea what floss tube was. I had heard of it, but I hadn't really watched any floss tubes. I just kind of did my own thing, stitched on my projects, put them away, started a new one. Um, I attended Midsummer Stitch, which is put on by Lindy Stitches, Stephanie Webb from Lindy Stitches. I attended that over the summer, and it is a virtual stitching retreat. And she had a lot of different floss tubers on there. There were like stitching meet and greets where you could meet with them, ask them questions, talk to them. And it was absolutely wonderful. They were all so much fun and so fascinating that I immediately, after Midsummer Stitch, went on YouTube and looked up Flosstube and put in the names of the people that I had met over the course of the retreat, and was quickly addicted to Flosstube. Um, so I really still hadn't thought about doing my own Flosstube. But I watched a video from the Sable Stitchers where they talked about starting their floss tube and gave tips for people that might want to start their own floss tube. And I got thinking, why not? Why not give it a shot? So I will link that in the bottom, but it is floss tube number 57, titled Starting a Floss Tube Tips, and it's by the Sable Stitchers. So if you are thinking about starting your own floss tube, I encourage you to watch that episode. They are also amazing, and so much enabling on that channel. They have a lot of um, amazing projects that they're working on, and a lot of stash, hence the name, the Sable Stitchers. Um, a couple other floss tubes that I really enjoy that I just wanted to mention before we got into our finished parade. I love Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World. She is also Hemlock and Rye Designs. Her designs are amazing. Her finishes are amazing. We stitch on a lot of the same types of projects. Um, and I really love watching her progress and her journey, as well as seeing her designs. She also shares her love of reading at the end, and we also read a lot of the same types of books. So I'm an avid reader. Ray is an avid reader. We are not doing any books today, but as we progress, we may add a couple of books at the end. Each share something that we've read and enjoyed that you might enjoy as well. Another one that I really love is Stewart's and Stitches. His channel is so much fun. He makes the most amazing project bags. So you'll love seeing those. And he just stitches on some really fun designs. He does a lot of full coverage pieces, which I don't do a lot of, but I love seeing them come together. They're very beautiful. And then one other that I wanted to mention is Stitching with T and B. If you are not watching her, you definitely should. Her stitching is amazing. And again, she stitches on a lot of projects that I have a connection to, but also she just has the most soothing voice ever. So if you're in need of some relaxation, hop on and listen to her. If you like tea, she also talks all about teas, the various properties, makes a lot of tea recommendations. I'm not a tea drinker, but I still love listening to her talk about teas. That is how soothing she is. So jumping right in, before we get into the finishes, I do want to show you my current focus project. I'm currently working on Emmeline Purnell. Um, This is what the pattern looks like. I'm stitching it on just the ticket by Tabby Cat, and I'm doing it on 45 count. Why I chose to do it on 45 count, I do not know, but I am doing it on 45 count. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to see the camera from where I am, but hopefully you can see that and it's not blowing out too much. It's a beautiful project. Um, I typically stitch on 36 count, I would say is my favorite. I like 40 count as well. So most of my current projects are 36 or 40 count. 46 count is a stretch for me. I can see it, I can do it, but I'm definitely stitching a lot slower on this. This is not a large project. I am about one away from the border and going down, and I'm most of the way down on the other border. And I have a lot of the middle done as well. But normally I would probably be done with this project by now, but it does slow me down having it on 46 count. There's also the passage here at the top that is done 1/1. I will not be stitching 1/1 on 45. It is not going to happen. So I will be charting my own passage for up there. And since I'm changing the top, I'm also going to leave out the bottom and stitch some stuff more relevant to me. I don't want to share what that is yet. I want to surprise you on the finish. But I do have a passage picked out from one of my favorite poems that's very relevant to me right now. And I am going to include my initials and the date. I have not charted those yet, so I don't know exactly what the placement's going to be, but I will share that when I get it finished. But no 1/1 is going to be happening on that design. Not a fan of 1/1 on any count of fabric, but definitely not attempting it on 45. So I have organized my 2024 finishes in order. So my first finish of 2024 was right in January, very shortly after the new year, and that was Sarah Rinder. Let me get that in front of the camera here. Sorry, I don't have my project board yet. Hopefully you can see that. This was an absolutely amazing design. I love this. This is Hands Across the Sea samplers. And it was Needle in the Haystack's 25th anniversary stitch along. I stitched it on 40 count vintage maple sugar by Lakeside Linens. I used the called for SWA 100.3s, which I love, love, love stitching on. And I stitched it 1/2 threads. I love Hands Across the Sea, and I usually have at least one Hands Across the Sea going at a given time. My next finish was Huckleberry Farm from the Blue Flower. This was stitched on 36 count shale linen by Picture This Plus, using the Weeks Classic Colorworks and Gentle Art called for threads. That's good. And again, I stitched that 1/2 threads. That was another design that I really, really enjoyed stitching. Um, I love the Blue Flower. Her designs always speak to me. My next finish was Ring-a-Ding Santa. This is a little ornament stitched on perforated paper. It is by Satsuma Street. It came as a kit, and I stitched it with all the called for threads and beads and metallics. Actually, I don't think there's any metallics in this one, but there's beads and sequins. This is a really quick and easy finish. I don't know why I haven't finished it off yet, but I will be trying to do that tomorrow. You just have to cut out around the design. And then I have some sticky felt that I put on the other side and add a little hanger. We have a little tree, which we can't see here in the floss tube, but Ray and I have a little silver Christmas tree, and we put all of my finished ornaments on the tree, and we really enjoy getting that out every year. Our goal is to eventually have one for each season, but right now we just have the Christmas one. My next finish was Egg Hunt by Satsuma Street.
I love the colors on this one.
This one was stitched on 30 count Scuppernong by Weeks, using the called for DMC 2/2. Would you grab the oval frame? I do have finishing plans for this one. I am going to be putting it in a vintage frame that I got. And I bought the frame a long time before I stitched the design, so I didn't have a design in mind when I got it. But it fits perfectly in that frame. I just have to get around to lacing it and finishing it off. Um, I want to give a quick shout out here to Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe. She did a floss tube extra called Go Cross Stitch Thrifting with me. If you are interested in framing your own projects, this is a great video to watch. It's just really fun. But Ray and I are both avid thrifters. We love going to lawn sales, thrift shops, estate sales, and one of the things that I am always looking for are frames to frame my designs in. I have been purchasing frames to put stitching in for a long time. I just this year finally learned how to actually frame my own piece, and I'll be talking about that in just a couple of minutes. But I have 90. I counted them. I have 90 designs, not 90 finished pieces, not including what's on this table. So what's on this table that's not finished is in addition to the 90. But I have 90 finished pieces in a box under my bed, waiting for me to either frame them or finish them in some other way. So another real goal for this channel, other than just establishing a community of stitchers that might want to listen to me talk about all of my stitching, is to have some accountability and get some of those pieces finished. Um, One of the things that occurred to me at the last estate sale we went to was that all of the pieces, and I have rescued quite a few pieces. I'll probably do a floss tube extra at some point on that. But all of the pieces that I see at estate sales and in thrift shops, they have at least been framed, which makes me wonder what happened to all of the unframed pieces that someone, poured all of their love and hours and attention into. Um, what happens to those pieces if they don't get framed? So I want to at least get all of my stuff in frames so that it will survive me. My next finished is Let Every Creature. This is by Lindy Stitches. This is the first piece that I framed. Um, as I said, I had been afraid for a long time to actually finish my stitching. I was afraid I was going to ruin it while framing it. Before I forget though, this is designed by Lindy Stitches. I stitched it on the 32 count Spending Amnesia by Mystic Fabrics using the called for weeks and DMC, and I stitched 2/2. The frame is from Michaels. The shout out I want to do here is to Lori Holt. She recently did an absolutely amazing framing tutorial. She talked about how she goes about framing her finished pieces. She did a close up of the actual leasing process, which is way easier than I thought it was going to be. So this was the very first piece that I framed, and I used her tutorial to do so. Um, this piece happened to fit into a custom, not a custom, a standard size frame from Michaels. But she did talk about those pieces that need custom frames. And so for those that I can't find at estate sales and can't find the right size for, what she tends to do is go to a shop that does the framing. She mentioned Hobby Lobby. I tend to go to Michaels. I don't go to Hobby Lobby. Um, she orders the frame. She has them cut the mat board, the finishing board, um, and she just orders it without the glass and without having them put the project in it. So it's considerably cheaper than having everything framed by the shop. I was spoiled when I first started stitching. I had a friend who owned a professional frame shop. That's what she did for a living. And she would do all of my pieces for me pretty much at the cost of the materials. So I didn't pay for labor. I didn't pay for any of the markup. I really had no idea what framing cost. And then I moved away and went to have a piece framed and got a rude awakening when I realized to the savings she was actually giving me. She was amazing. I would plug her shop, but they are already she's not in business anymore. So um but she did an amazing job for me. So I am fortunate that I have a lot of my pieces framed. But since I've moved, they have been languishing because I just could not afford to get all of them framed. I have done a few, which I'll show over time, but um, definitely not everything that I'm finishing. So hopefully, with what I've learned from Lori Holt and as I practice, and get better, I will be able to get all of my projects finished. So her Flosstube episode was 19 and 1/2, and it's titled How I Frame My Cross Stitch. All of these episodes and everything that I'm mentioning, I will include down below in the description. My next finish is All is Bright. This is a previous Jingle Ball pattern. I could just pop it out of this to make it a little easier to show. But this is by Hands On Design. It was sold at, it was an exclusive at the 2023 Jingle Ball. I do not know if it is available yet for purchase, but she typically releases them after a while. So if it's not out, it probably will be someday. It is stitched on 32 count juniper fabric by fabric by Stephanie. Using the called for weeks 2/2. This frame that it's in is a snapshot frame from Chantel's 141 Design Studio. Um, this was my first time doing a flat finish like this. It was easier than I expected it to be. Again, it's not perfect. I'm still learning, but I really enjoyed it. And I definitely will be visiting Chantel's shop to get some more finishing pieces. I have a lot of other designs that I think would look nice on some of her pieces. So hopefully I'll be able to show you those down the road. My next finish is the Yule Goddess. This was another purchase I made at one of the Jingle Balls. Um, she is absolutely beautiful. She was so fun to stitch. I will warn you, she's bigger than she than she looks. Went into it thinking, okay, this will be a quick, easy stitch. It didn't take a lot of time, but it did take more time than I expected. She does have several other designs kind of in this series that I would also like to stitch. This is stitched on 30 count grasshopper by Weeks Dye Works using the called for DMC 2/2. This one, I can't decide yet how I want to finish it. I may finish it as a pillow. I did pick up some backing fabric that I thought went really well with it. But I can't decide. I can't decide whether to put it in a little frame or as a pillow. Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm also not sure. This one is, I think, my absolute favorite of this year, so I want it to be something special, but I'm not sure exactly what we should have it as.
So we will be thinking of that. Here's a closer view of the finishing fabric. It's very pretty and it definitely goes with the colors and the designs. I will tell you my sewing skills are not great. I am practicing, so the things that I want to finish as pillows have not been done yet just because it might ruin what I'm trying to stitch them. I need to do some practice pillows first. My mom did recently buy a new sewing machine and I may use hers. Mine is a very cheap machine that I got on Black Friday one year for $30 at Walmart, and it shakes all over while I try to stitch. So hers is nice and heavy, and I think will not present the added challenge of having it jump around while I'm trying to sew. So, but I've got to do more practice. The next one, this one has a history. This is called Free Betsy. It was a Bent Creek kit, and I stitched with all of the called fors. I started this years ago. I'm a pretty fast stitcher, and I just finished it this year. Um, and the reason why is I got really mad at it and had to set it down for a while. And I'm sorry for not ironing it, but I'm still a little mad at it. Um, you can see probably that the colors aren't quite where they're supposed to be. So the top portion with the star, the top portion of the kind of flag over the sheet with the star, that is supposed to be the blue, and the stripes are supposed to be red and white. Of course, it's supposed to be like an American flag, right? Well, I was stitching away, not paying any attention, and then looked at the picture and realized that everything was reversed. I double checked the pattern and I was in fact stitching it the way it was charted. But it was not the way it was in the picture. So I got frustrated with it and set it down and kind of forgot about it for a long time. Was organizing my stitching stuff this summer and pulled it out and did stitch it. So that one I'm also not sure how I want to finish it. I don't know if I want to make a little frame small, if I want to make a pillow for one of my pillow bowls. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one, Ray?
I think it would be really cute as a pillow.
Yeah.
You do have like some other pillows of sheep stitching?
I do. I've got the little sheep virtues. I've got most of them stitched. I have about half of them made into pillows. I have some more pillows to put together. But it could definitely fit in with the sheep virtues. So it may end up being a pillow again once my sewing skills improve a little bit more. My next finish was my election stitching. Um, so it's Well Behaved Women by Lizzie Kate. I'm stitching it on the 37 count cream Northern Cross linen that came with the kit, and stitching it with the called for threads 2/2. I am also not certain how I'm going to finish this. Um, I may look at Chantel's site and see if there is some kind of a display piece that this would fit well on, and then kind of mat it on a fabric colored board and put it on a piece like that. I do have um, another one this size by Lizzie Kate, same type of kit that I do have framed. I'll show that in another video and hanging in my kitchen. But I'm not sure that I want to do a custom frame for such a small piece when I have much larger pieces that need attention. So I'm thinking one of Chantel's display pieces might do the trick for that one. My next finish is Tombstone by Kathy Barrick. This was one of her newer designs from the Fall Needlework Market. I did finish both pieces. This particular one is done on 40 count Ancient Rune by Fox and Rabbit. And the next one is on 40 count Moonstone linen by Fiber on a Whim. I stitched it with the called for floss 1/2, and I do intend to finish it as pictured on the cute little tombstones from Michaels. As far as I know, these are still available. They're seasonal items, so I don't know if you can order them year round. But I just went on Michael's website and searched for them and was able to find them. And I ordered two to finish the designs. That is a quick and easy finish. I didn't get it finished for Halloween, so my Christmas finishings took priority at that point. So I set it aside, but I do hope to get that finished within the next few days. Um, then my next finish is next we're getting into my Jingle Ball. So I want to talk just for a minute about the Jingle Ball before I show you all of my work. I have been to all three Jingle Balls. I love them. They are one of the things that I really, really look forward to every single year. I tell my family they're not allowed to speak to me, ask me for anything during Jingle Ball, and that is like my me time. And again, Jingle Ball is one of the online virtual retreats put on by Stephanie Webb from Lindy Stitches. It is amazing. I highly recommend it if you've never been to one. There's just a $10 admission fee that gets you into all of the regular events for the weekend. They do have some pre-taped entertainment that is wonderful. There's like 12 designers or something like that that participate. They each do a talk where they answer your questions and tell you all about themselves, which is wonderful. They'd have stitching tables where you can meet other stitchers and talk to them. Um, They have whip speed dating, which I have not done yet, but I will get up the courage to do one of these years. Um, but it is just a wonderful event. The other thing that they do is classes. So each of the designers prepares an exclusive design and they teach a class. And it's a great way to learn different finishing techniques. Um, as I said, finishing is a real priority of mine right now. So I went a little crazy with the classes this year. I signed up for 6 classes. And that came with a lot of pre-stitching. So I set everything else aside and I got pre-stitching. I did pre-stitch all of them but one. The one that I didn't was Countdown by Christmas, which is hands-on design. And that was actually a counted canvas piece, and I have not done counted canvas before. I have not really done needlepoint. So I wanted to wait till the class to learn a bit more about the stitches and techniques before I started stitching that one. So I will be showing that one in future videos because it is a work in progress, but I am really enjoying that as well. So the first one that I finished was #joy, and this was pre-stitching because I'm not finished with the pillow yet. But #joy by Hands On Design. This is stitched on 32 count platinum Belfast with the called for DMC 2/2. I did order the full kit, so I got all of the needed wool felts for the applique. I'm not quite done with the applique. I have my tree done, but I haven't done my corners. Once I do the corners, it will be ready to cut down and make into a pillow. This is the backing fabric. I do have the interfacing and everything on the backing fabric. It is all ready to go. Again, I've got to practice my pillow stitching just a little bit before I'm making this into a pillow, but I do hope to get that done very, very soon. Um, the next finish for Jingle Ball was Bryson Bentley Badger by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This one was so much fun, not only to stitch, but the kit was amazing. Show that backing fabric again. They designed their own backing fabric to go with the design. Bryson Bentley Badger has his own little story. He's like a starving artist. I'm not going to try to tell the whole story. They did an amazing job with it. But it is kind of a little easel finish, which I had absolutely never done before. The class was amazing. They did an amazing job. It was one of the best classes I've taken. Hands-on design is also a fabulous class. She is an excellent teacher as well. But during this one, again, I had got more practice with lacing and then just putting this all together. I actually finished the whole thing during the class. It was easy. The class was only about an hour and a half long, so it looks like a complicated finish, but it's really not. So I will definitely be making more of that type of finish as well down the road. And they do have finishing instructions and everything, so that even without the class video, you can watch or you can read the directions and make the finish. My next Jingle Ball pre-stitching finish was Up on the Rooftop by Lindy Stitches. This was a series of 3 little stockings. I have not finished these yet, and the reason is I did not have time to actually watch this class. I do have the video until the 8th of January, so this is actually on deck for tomorrow to finish into the stockings. My son actually graduated right in the middle of that class. So obviously I was not going to miss his college graduation. So I did not see that class in real time. But the finishing is all done and ready to go. I have backing fabrics picked out, and I'm really excited about this finish. She does do this finish by hand. It's just using basically a back stitch finishing, so I don't think it's going to be that complicated. I just have to prep the pieces, watch the video, and get it done. Um, I think that's all I have to say on that one. So I'm hopefully doing that one tomorrow, doing the finishing, and I'll be able to show you that next time. Oh, it is stitched on Vintage Stormy Clouds linen, which is a beautiful, beautiful printed linen. The picture is printed on there, so the modeling is uniform and it is beautiful. Um, my next Jingle Ball class and pre-stitch was the Gingerbread House by the Tiny Modernist. As you can see, I'm not quite finished. Um, I will tell you, I did not enjoy stitching this one at all. I think it's beautiful. It's really cute. But I hated stitching it. It took me far longer than it probably should have just because I wasn't enjoying myself. There's a lot of back stitch. I did stitch it on the called for linen, which is chestnut by Witchelt. Um, I hate Witchel fabric, like most of us, I think. But I wasn't sure with the design if the stiffer linen wouldn't have been, more effective, which it probably was. So I went ahead and I used the called for. I did not enjoy stitching it. I also did not enjoy the finish as much. It was pretty easy to put together. It's not difficult. The roof made me really mad. I did do the roof, um, sat for like 20 minutes holding it in place, and it still popped right off. So I have to get different glue. I got really mad at it and threw the roof away. So I had to recut the matting and reglue on the felt and remake the roof, which in retrospect, I should not have thrown it away. I should have just gotten better glue. I am not finishing the bottom of this. Her finishing had you making a bottom, stuffing it and making a bottom. It is pretty stable with the mat board on each side. And once it has the mat board roof, I don't think it needs to be stuffed. And I just want to be done with it. Not my favorite, but it was a wonderful class. It's a wonderful design. Like most people I saw on other floss tubes, like really enjoyed the project. So don't be shied away just because it was not my thing. Um, but again, another good finishing technique to learn. And she does have a lot of other little houses and things that she's made over the years. Some of them were magazine projects over the years, and she also released some others at Jingle Ball, which I did not get because I don't ever want to do this again. um, I'm sure that those will be released as well. So
We got a lot of rants about the gingerbread house at home.
yes, they got to hear my thoughts on that the whole time I was working on it, both from stitching and from trying to finish. The next one, I love, 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 and this is Festive Forest, by the Blue Flower. To pull it back so you can see the whole thing. This was so much fun to stitch. Her class again was amazing. I have not done the finishing yet just because I haven't had time, but I do have it all cut out and prepped. This was the last one that I finished, and I finished it literally 30 minutes before class started, so I did not have time to cut it out, put on the interfacing, do all the prep work that I needed to finish along with the class. But the finishing does not look difficult. There is back stitching all the way around the design. So it's put together very similar to a biscornu, and I have done a couple of biscornus in the past. So I'm going to go back and rewatch the video, and her paper directions were excellent. So I'm going to try to get this put together very soon, but it is beautiful. The other thing that I really liked about this project, again, I got the kit, so I'm stitching on everything that was included in the kit. It's 32 count cypress by Fiber on a Whim, and the kit included, there was some DMC, there were some weeks, there were cottage garden threads, which I have never used before, and I really, really liked them. So they were a lot of fun to stitch with. But my most favorite, she included Roxy Floss. Again, I had never stitched using Roxy Floss before. I am hooked. I love Roxy Floss. It is probably my favorite floss right now. I have ordered several other things that have Roxy Floss conversions. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Roxy Floss as we go on. But I liked that she included a variety of threads so that I was able to get that experience with some different things. The next one is a gift for Ray that I stitched. This is Staying Warm. It's another design by Lindy Stitches. This was a Christmas gift from me to Ray. It's stitched on 32 count beach walk by Witchelt. And again, I'm not a big fan of Witchelt, but this piece actually wasn't that bad. This was not the super stiff, hard to work on, hard to stitch on. It was actually a pleasure to stitch on. I used the called for DMC and Valsois, except for the hair, which I changed to be a little bit closer to Ray's hair color. Um, this cat up on top of the head, that looks like our cat Toby. And the cat around the shoulders, that looks like our cat Tonks. We do have another cat Erie. I would imagine that over the course of our floss tubes, they'll all make an appearance at one point or another. We've been shooing them away just because we have so much unfinished work on the table. But we do have 3 cats and 2 dogs. So we have quite the zoo here. The frame and the mat were from Michaels. It did fit in a 6x8 frame. It's just slightly too large for a 5x7, but it was actually perfect in a 6x8. I couldn't find a 6x8 frame, but they did have a pre-cut mat in 6x8. So I grabbed that, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Hopefully he liked it
I
for
do.
Christmas.
I was really excited when I saw it. She had showed me the pattern before, and I really wanted to have it done. So I was really excited when I opened that up on Christmas.
So that was actually a really fast finish. There's a lot of solid blocks of stitching, so it goes very quickly. It actually only took me a few days to stitch the whole piece. There's not a lot of color changes, so it's a quick, fun, easy stitch. And I was able to get that done by Christmas, which made me really happy. So the next finish that I have is actually my Christmas Day start. This is called the Christmas Tide Sampler. It was the homespun needlework exclusive. Let me put that against my board because it's kind of blowing out. This was designed to be stitched over the 12 days of Christmas Tide or over Christmas Tide. I couldn't put it down, so I did not stick with the plan and I just stitched the whole thing all the way through. Again, it's a really fast start. I think it took me 2 days. Um, and I love it. It is by Hands On Design. Um, It is stitched on 32 count charcoal Zweigart linen, weeks dyeworks thread to over 2 threads. It was, however, an exclusive design. If you have not checked out the Facebook group Homespun Needlework, you should. About once every month, they release an exclusive design. You can only purchase it for a limited time. It can only be purchased as a kit. And it cannot be resold without the permission of the administrators of the site. So if you see something you love, you should get it. This one just I really loved, and I love her designs, and the kit did not disappoint either. Let me share with you some of the finishing materials for the kit. They did include all of the materials that you need for finishing, including backing boards for both. I'm just going to show you the little one for right now because the other one's still wrapped up. There's an ornament that's included that I'm going to show you in just a moment because I finished that as well. But there's a backing board included for the sampler, painted with this finish or stained with this finish, and a backing board for the ornament as well. I actually sat down to finish these last night and ended up finishing two other projects and then running out of time. But I do plan to have these stitched very quick or finished very quickly as well. So this is the ornament that came with the kit. So I'm counting this as a separate finish. So this is the Christmas tide ornament stitched on the same fabric, the 32 count charcoal Zweigart and the Weeks Dye Works thread 2/2. And I'll be finishing it on the provided backing board. Now, these last couple of finishes are things that I stitched a really long time ago. The first one, and this I finished, did the final finish last night, but I actually stitched this back in early 2015. It's called Things Unseen. It's by Lizzie Kate. It was a mystery sampler that came in 3 separate parts. There you go. I stitched it as they came out. So I don't know exactly what day I finished this, but it was the last part came out in January of 2015. So I finished it very shortly thereafter. I know because I stitched it on the called for linen at the time that it was stitched on Ren by Picture This Plus. I think it is a 32 count. I think it could be a 28 count, but I think it's 32 count. And I used the called for Weeks Dye Works 2/2. I also included, there was a button pack included, so it's a little hard to see. Let's maybe get a little closer, but you can see the buttons I used as well. This frame is from Michaels. I did mat it without the glass because of the buttons. But I think the frame fits the vibe of the pattern very well. I actually already have the frame. So when I pulled out all my finished pieces to count them, I spotted this one and realized it would fit in the frame that I already have. So I couldn't resist and I quick finished that. The last finish I also did last night, and it is also a piece that I stitched a long time ago. I think it might be a Lizzie Kate, but I'm not sure. I had the frame. Again, it fit perfectly, perfect size. I don't know what fabric it is. I don't know what threads I used. I don't know the name of the pattern. I did a Google image search and tried to find it. I could not find it. If anybody is watching and knows what pattern that is, please tell me. But I love it and it is finished now. But this kind of brings up an interesting point. I did not used to keep track of what I stitched when. I didn't write anything down. I didn't write the pattern name. I didn't write the fabric name. I didn't write what threads I'd used, if I'd substituted anything out. I didn't put down when I started, when I finished. And watching Flosstube made me realize that was another thing that was really missing in my stitching. So I started looking for a way to keep track of my stitching, and make sure that in the future I would have a record of that I would know everything that went into the piece and when I did it. And I came across Notion, and I want to do a couple of shout outs here actually. Cameron from Cam the Stitcher, did a Flosstube um, on goal planning using Notion. I will link that below. I watched that and I was like, that is what I need. And she actually, in that video, she mentions, and I think posted in the description, the database template that she was using to keep track of her work. And I actually was able to find and purchase the same template. And then over the summer, jumped into the rabbit hole of trying to put all of my stash into Notion. That is still a work in progress because almost 30 years of stitching, I have a lot of stash. I did get in all of my DMC floss, all of my Gentle Arts floss. I got in all of my Weeks dye works and all of my classic color works. I have not put in my silks yet. Um, I've started entering my patterns. I am not quite finished with that, but I have also pulled out a lot of patterns and I'm in the process of getting ready to do a huge stash unload. I have a lot of patterns that I've gotten over the years that I still love a lot of them, but I know that I'm not going to get to them. I have made a decision in terms of stashing, that anything that I get in the future in terms of patterns, because I have so very many of them and so very many of them that I love and want to stitch, that if it's not worth kitting up, I'm not buying it. So I've been kind of buying everything as a kit. Unless it's just DMC and I can kit that from Stash. But if it has specialty fibers, I've been buying it all together. Um, I've been buying the linen with it that I want to use. So that will hopefully rein in my stash acquisition a little bit. Um, so that I can finish getting everything in Notion. I do really enjoy tracking my projects in Notion. I do a lot of stitching from a digital pattern. I scan most of my paper patterns and put them in markup so that I can keep track and so I can blow up my pattern so I can see it a little bit better. So I'm able to track like how many stitches I've done each day and set little goals for myself. I know how many stitches are in a project, so I know like how close I am to finishing. So I highly recommend Notion. I'm sure that there are other programs out there as well, or other ways of keeping track. But this one I think is really going to work for me. Um, it also came in very handy on Black Friday. Since I had all of my DMC in there, I was able to quickly scan and see which colors I was missing, and buy those while they were on sale. So that was another plus. Frizzy Lizzy Stitches has also done a couple of Notion videos. She's gone really in depth with hers. She did one very recently called Notion for Cross Stitch Nerds. I will link that one below as well, but I think she has a couple earlier videos on Notion as well. So if you're interested in learning more about Notion, um, Cam, the Cameron from Cam the Stitcher and Frizzy Lizzy Stitches are a good starting point for jumping into the Notion deep end. The last thing that I want to go over with you today is just some recent acquisitions. Yes, I did just say I was going to try to rein that in, but most of these are Christmas gifts, so those don't count. Um, so let me just grab those. For this first one, I told you I fell in love with Roxy Floss, which is sold through Evertote in Canada, which is also a wonderful shop, and I absolutely love them. Um, so I put on my Christmas list, and this was purchased by my husband for me for Christmas, A Study in Nature by the Artsy Housewife. I love her patterns. I have not stitched any of them yet, but I have quite a few. So hopefully we'll see a couple Artsy Housewife finishes this year. But I love this butterfly. He got me the called for Roxy Floss Co conversion. So these are all of the amazing colors that go into that design. And I have also ordered a piece of fabric to stitch her on from Evertote and Roxy Floss. So that has not arrived yet, but I'll show it to you when it gets here. But I'm really looking forward to stitching that this year.
I'm also looking forward to seeing that one done. That's, I think, my favorite of them new acquisitions. I love patterns with butterflies, like some of the ones you saw earlier. I really love those.
And that maybe will be another one that makes its way to Ray when it gets finished for his room. Um, my mother got me the kitted materials for Green Coat Santa, which is in the Hello Santa book that just came out by Teresa Kogut. I love this book. I want to stitch absolutely everything in it. Um, so I did ask for the materials to stitch several of the designs in here, and the one my mom picked was the Green Coat Santa. So I have the called for DMC ready to go. I have the fabric ready to go. The only thing that I plan on changing out when the model stitcher stitched the coat, um, she did not use the called for DMC. She has Dot Dot Goose designs, by the way. She also has a floss tube, which I'll try to link below. She has the floss tube where she shows the actual model. But she used a color called Bayberry, which the dye lot has now changed significantly from when she stitched the model. But she recommended Weeks Dye Works Grasslands. And I happen to have that in stash. So I will be switching out the green coat to Grasslands by Weeks Dye Works. So I'm looking forward to that one, as well as all of the other designs in there. Um, I should probably also mention here before I get onto the rest of my Christmas presents that I am a member of Teresa Kogut's Patreon. And she has wonderful, wonderful designs on that every year. She has a lot of different price point levels, and you get different things with each level, but you might want to check out her Patreon. And I'm also a member of the Artsy Housewives Patreon site, and I have acquired quite a few patterns through that as well. But those two are really definitely worth the value, um, and I can't wait to stitch a lot of those patterns. My other son, not Ray, Mark, gave me Everyday Folk. This is by Krista West. I love this book. You can see a close-ups of some of the designs in it. They are designed to they have patterns that you can complete the objects that they finished in the book, and there's a lot of like table linens, placemats, table runners, cushions, pillows. But they are also the designs are just provided so that you can make them into anything that you want to. They would look amazing as a band sampler. Um, Mark, sorry, cat alert on my stitching. Um, so you could stitch a band sampler or really anything else with the designs, and the designs are absolutely amazing. That being said, I do really like the table runners and placemats that they have, particularly with this blue and white pattern you see here. It's probably hard to see behind me, but my dishes are Liberty Blue. And I've had a very difficult time finding table linens that I like that match, my china that I get out on special occasions. So I may actually stitch them as table linens so that I have something that matches my Liberty Blue. I would do a flip through of the book, but the patterns show up on a lot of the pages. So if you are interested in seeing a flip through of the book, just let me know and I'll go in and show that in a separate video after I've kind of covered up the patterns themselves. And then my final Christmas stash. This was another present from my husband. This is the Sock Knitting Bible by Lynn Rowe. Again, our goal is to stitch socks, so we're really excited about this book. Um, Our knitting has not progressed to the point where we are ready to stitch socks. We literally did our first lesson yesterday.
Mhm.
So we did learn. We're watching some videos on YouTube, and we did learn the knit stitch. Um, we had a rough time of it, but we're getting there. I think I understand the stitch, but would inevitably make a mistake and not get very far. Do you want to grab mine? It's behind you by the serger. Um, Ray is a little bit more of a perfectionist than I am, so I think he tore out all of his stitching. I tore out the first few, and then last night I was practicing and just kind of decided to leave it in despite all the mistakes that I was making. So don't laugh, but this is my very little start. I think part of the problem for me was when I first was trying it, I was doing it on much thicker needles, so I was having a really hard time. I switched to some thinner needles and it's a little bit easier for me. My yarn is not the greatest quality. Um, I guarantee I either picked this up at a lawn sale or something like that. I have no idea how old it is. It kind of falls apart while I'm trying to knit on it. So I do need to get some better yarn, but for practice, we just used what we had laying around. Um, but we are going to go to the yarn shop maybe on Thursday, and pick out our dream sock yarn. And when we get there, we will show you our progress on that. My final piece of acquisition is the 2024 Prairie Schooler Santa. I have decided that I need to have all of the Schooler Santas. I think I maybe have 5 or 6 of them right now. Um, and I want to make a real point of stitching them. I want to print maybe or stitch maybe an ornament a month this year. I'll talk more about my plans in the next video, but I do want to get some more ornaments done, and I really, really like these Santas. This one, another shout out to Cross Stitch the Globe. They did an episode recently called um, Get Discounts on Cross Stitching Using Shop Cash. I do a lot of purchasing from shops that use Shop. And I wasn't really paying attention and didn't know there was such a thing as shop cash. So I watched their Flosstube and I went to my shop account and sure enough I had some shop cash and some of it was getting ready to expire. So I, of course I had to spend it so it wouldn't expire. But I got this pattern for free. And just paid for part of the shipping. I was able to get the pattern plus about $1 of the shipping with my shop cash, and then I just had to pay the remainder of the shipping. So um, I thought that was a pretty good deal. So I will be stitching that hopefully this year as well. So that is all we wanted to share with you in this episode. My next episode, which I'm going to try to get out in about 2 weeks, will be my whip parade. So I know I said I'm a semi-monogamous stitcher, but semi. I do have whips. So hopefully I'll have some progress on my Emmeline Purnell to show you. I will show you all of my whips. Some of them are quite old. I have one that goes back to 2007. You will see though why some of them are whips. And maybe help talk me through a few things to decide if they're going to remain whips or if they are going to go away. But I'm looking forward to that. At that time, I'll also share all of my 2005 stitch alongs that I'm going to be participating in because I've signed up for a number of those, and we'll have some starts on those that I can show you. So thank you so much for joining us for our first Flosstube. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you would please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.